Handsum Gambler podcast, one goal, clean sweep, going 5 for 5 every UFC card. I am tired, folks. I don't have the visuals up. I don't have anything really up, but it's been a tough week. I've got some great news, though, personal, and some good things are going to be happening going forward for the show. But we'll discuss that at a later time. Um, I had the privilege 2 weeks ago of having a great bounce back week. I went 4 of 5, and we have to jump into that recap on that UFC 317. Um, I had Jonata Denise over the debutant Alvin Hines. Um, these guys were several levels apart. I said that going in, and the short notice, reach, professional kickboxing experience, just so much of an uphill battle for a debuting fighter on short notice. And that went exactly how I said it went. Now, it surprised me that he didn't finish him. So the debuting guy's stock went up, and and I got paid. So it's kind of like a double win. Moving on down the line, I had Jacoby Smith over Nico Price. Like I said, Nico Price is washed. I give him one more fight in the UFC, and he's off to the Global Fight League or wherever. Happy trails, Nico. He was fighting for a check, and he got that check. Um, I had Tracy Cortez over Vivian Araujo. Tracy Cortez, she's the female version of Henry Cejudo. Okay. I believe that the fight with Rose Namajunas, it fixed everything. She now understands what the game is and how it's going to be on those upper echelon of fighters. And I think now you're going to see a serious title run from her going forward. And this was the beginning of that title run. She looked amazing. Um, that was just an easy win, very workmanlike performance from Tracy Cortez. I had Pantoja over KKF. This was just like the fight that happened a few weeks back between Marab and Sean O'Malley. It's just it's to the point where I don't know why they have to run it back in some of these cases, but it happened. Pantoja won by sub, and Marab won by sub also. Um, it's cool to see. Pantoja is probably going to be, he's definitely in the GOAT conversation as he's lapping his competition at this point. I think he needs a super fight combined to look for another title because that's the only thing that's going to keep him relevant. He's going to be lapping these guys. I think that there's nobody that can touch him right now. He's just like really on his game. Maybe if Demetrius Johnson was to come out of retirement, that might be an interesting fight to see. Something I've also thought about, but it's already spent too much time on that. But Pantoja won by sub. That was easy money right there. Now, I did lose a fight of Brandon Royval against Josh Van. I really believe Royval was winning that fight going into the fifth. And Joshua Van put a stamp on it with that knockdown and the way that he finished. Um, I can't really complain. It was a war, it was back and forth, but I truly feel that Royval was winning going into that last round, and Joshua Van put a serious stamp on it and definitely took. And no argument here, he definitely won. He definitely won, but he was losing going into that fifth round. Um, we are going to move into the picks for this weekend. No fluff. Um, Steve Garcia over Calvin Kattar. Steven Garcia is on a 4-fight winning streak, while Calvin Kattar is on a 5-fight. No, excuse me, I had that wrong. Steve Garcia is on a 5-fight winning streak, and Calvin Kattar is on a 4-fight losing streak. So I really feel like that's going to be, that combination is going to lead to Calvin Kattar losing. He's also a New England cartel guy, and it's a camp that I just fade in general. They're not very good fighters coming out of there for some reason. If they ever correct it, I will be the first to speak on it. But from what I've seen, I don't think since I've started my show, one New England cartel guy has got a win since I started this show. Dead ass. So anyway, easy money. Steve Garcia knockout. See if we can get the round prop on there. Maybe first or second. He's been starching motherfuckers in the first though. Going on down the line, I'm gonna take Mike Davis over Mitch Ramirez. He's all around the better fighter. I think it's going to be a 15-minute stand-up war, and he's going to put hands and feet on Mitch Ramirez and not get him out of there, but just pepper him up for 15 minutes, maybe stun him, rock him a couple times. But very easy work for Mike Davis this weekend. Next up, I'm taking Chitty Bang Bang and Jaquani over Jake Matthews. He's got the strength of schedule advantage. I think he has a serious stand-up advantage, and I don't think Jake Matthews has the grappling acumen to take him down. I feel like he's rocked and been in there with much better grapplers and done enough to either survive or win the fight or at least make it difficult. And Jake really has been declining, I feel like, ever since the Matthew Semmelsberger fight, and just gradually declining. I'm going to take Bang Bang, maybe third round knockout or decision. But yeah, definitely money line that shit. Next up, I'm going to Chris Curtis over Max Payne. I think Max Payne is washed. He hasn't had a real win since 2021. Like I said, I'm tired. I can't recall. It's something weird where like his last 3 or 4 fights have went to a split decision, which truly means they could have went either way. So did he win any of them or did he lose all of them? You don't really know what to do with that. On the flip side, I believe 2 of Chris Curtis's last 4 fights went to a split decision too. I think that's kind of why they're making this fight. They're split decision kings. Something I did pinpoint is that Max Griffin was last finished by Michael Chiesa, and Maverick's just not been looking that good lately. I think he's been looking good because of the competition that he's been facing more than we can say he's getting any better or evolving as a fighter. But Chris Curtis, money line it. Chris Curtis over 1.5, over 2.5. He's hit the round prop. Last up, I'm going to take Taliesin Teixeira over the knockout king, Derek Lewis. I see this going one of 2 ways. Either Taliesin finishes him early or he finishes him a little bit later. I feel like either way the finish happens, it might be because Derek Lewis packs it in because he doesn't like to really go long. I feel like his mojo is gone. I don't want to say that he's washed because he's a heavyweight. That power will always be there, but that fear, the fear that he used to carry, I feel like with the last couple performances, we'll say the last handful, the last 5 performances, there's been definitely a chink in the armor that's been exposed, and people aren't as scared of him as they once were. And I think that Taliesin Teixeira, he proves that. He goes in there and he knocks him out. like I said, either in the first 3 minutes or somewhere around the 7 or 8 minute mark is when Derek will start to look to pack it in. Maybe 10 minutes. His cardio's never gotten any better, and Teixeira looks like he's a pretty rough and tumble dude. But we made it through another episode of the Handsum Gambler podcast. Play start. Whoa. Play smart. Stay sharp. Bet on charm and win with style. I am the Handsum Gambler, and I'll see you next week, folks.
It's the greatest team of all time. That squad right there.